I'm proud of everybody here, of the role that PCS members are taking in protesting this failed strategy, and for us as a union, what sort of self-respecting union would not seek to enlist membership support to defend our members faced with what constitutes the biggest attack on members' living standards in living memory. A marked, serious decline in our living standards, compounded by a further pay cap, and a cynical attempt to misrepresent the conditions of our members through it's an attack on what he calls pay progression, what in our mind progression exists for people to move up a pay scale to get to the rate for the job. For many years people have had to wait far too long to get to the rate to the job, and what do we then find when you finally reach those dizzy heights? You're then subject to a pay cap that results in a 14% cut in our members' living standards. Only 20% of the jobs cut in the civil service, 60 to 80,000, have been implemented. We expect a further 80% to come our members' way. A stream of initiatives under so-called civil service reform, which results in an attack on all of the conditions of employment that we should never forget, were never gifted, were never handed over to PCS members and our members out of the benevolence of the Cabinet Office or Minister's heart. Maternity leave, flexi leave, paid time at paid sick time, all of the benefits that are now under attack were won by the union in the first place, and our message is all those conditions will be defended by the union. And as part of this ACT campaign, we're saying there needs to be a halt to the failed privatisation model. How much more evidence do we need that privatisation has nothing to do with the public interest and is simply about handing over lucrative parts of the public sector to shareholders who act on the basis of their profits rather than the interests of the workers and the services that we provide? And I make this point that PCS, one of the many things we as a union can be proud of, is the work of our members and activists. It is the reps on the ground who recruit people into the union, who encourage people to support the campaign, who encourage others to get active in the first place, who help counter the pessimism and fatalism that's afflicted trade union struggle for far too long. And there's one person, of course, who recognises the truth of that, and that is Francis Maude, the man responsible for the attack on facilities, the attack on union rights. In other words, they are fearful of the influence that PCS has in mobilising opposition to these attacks. And I conclude by saying that on any cursory glance and analysis of Osborne's statement yesterday would tell not just PCS members, but workers in the NHS, in local government, in the post office, in schools, in the fire service, there is no respite from these cuts. And when PCS, in organising this day of protest, we're going to be consulting members on refocusing our national demands, in sharpening up the best strategy and tactics for the next phase of this action. But we make this appeal not just to PCS members, but every worker organised in a trade union and every worker who should be organised in a trade union, that PCS want to coordinate the action that we take together. We need to plan common action. We have a common problem. We need to respond in a common industrial strategy to show the enormous potential power that trade unions still have. Because let's face it, would they spend all this time attacking us in the media? Would Maude be attacking facility time if they weren't fearful of the enormous power that we potentially have? So I want to conclude by thanking PCS members here across the country engaged in this protest. We hold the door open to every other trade unionist to a common campaign. We hold the door open to every community campaigner against the bedroom tax, defending and fighting cuts in local communities. We need to mobilise a massive campaign that unites all against austerity, but use this as an opportunity to put our alternative based on tax justice, investment in creating jobs, providing the housing that people need, investing in clean, renewable climate jobs. Let's use this as an opportunity to inspire our members and working people in general by not just saying what we're against, but by fighting for a positive view about how Britain can be. Thanks very much for all that you've done in making this protest a success. Thank you again for all the work I know PCS members and reps will put in the future. And thank you again for working together in trying to unite and mobilise the opposition to austerity that is so desperately needed in Britain today. Thanks very much for listening.